Hello, and welcome to the School of Business, where we're educating for a future based on we. We really appreciate all of our students and families coming out tonight. So I wanted to kick off. I am Jackie Elsick, and I work here as the Associate Dean in the School of Business. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Sylvia Maxfield, who is our Dean, and she's going to be welcoming us tonight. And then from there, you're going to have a few people from the School of Business who are going to speaking with you tonight. I'll be coming on and off, facilitating, also introducing some of my colleagues like Andy Donahue, as well as Tess Povar, as well as Grace Cleary, and you'll get to meet all of them later. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Sylvia Maxfield if she can welcome all of our families and guests tonight.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for braving yet another evening time Zoom meeting. We're really thrilled to have over 100 of you here with us tonight to hear about some of the incredible opportunities that our students have at the business school. My name is Sylvia Maxfield. Many of you probably met me in the process of deciding whether to choose to come to the PCSB and join the Friar family. And of course, I'm very, very glad that you made that decision. And of course, thank you so much for sticking with us through these incredible pandemic times. We're very excited to have come through a challenging period and happy to see students back on campus and faculty back teaching at least partly face-to-face and feeling the nice fall energy on campus again. And we're certainly hoping and praying that everyone stays safe and we're able to make it as planned through until just before Thanksgiving. I'm very thrilled that you're with us. You have an incredible team of staff that work with me and work with your students and work with our wonderful faculty. So I'm going to turn it back over with that welcome to Jackie, I think. And of course, I'm easy to find, Maxfield at providence.edu. I'm always happy to hear if you've got issues you think I could help you solve. Suggestions are always welcome. And thanks again for making the time to be with us.
Great, thanks, Dean Maxfield. So what I'm going to do now is introduce Mr. Andy Donahue, Assistant Director of Engagement and Advising. So wave, Andy, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. A lot of your students who may be in our first year advising program may have Andy as their finance advisor. If your students taking intro to business, they may have me as their advisor. And so Andy and I are going to be taking the lead tonight, at least for probably about the next 20 minutes, talking through some of our first year initiatives, a little bit about advising, a little bit about the curriculum. So really what we're doing tonight is giving you a taste of what the first year experience is like. And so I'm going to kick off and give you a pretty high level overview of what we call the PCSB curriculum. And so I know you're thinking to yourself, you know, what's my student doing here for 4 years in regards to coursework? Well, the first thing we're going to talk a little bit about is some of the degree requirements, because ultimately every student wants to get a degree, a business degree, at least at this point. And so for every student in PCSB or on campus, you need 120 credit hours to graduate with a Providence College degree. If you're in the business school, you need to have a cumulative GPA of a 2.5. And so at the end of this year, we're really asking our business students to have a 2.5 GPA as part of our first year requirements. Also, as a PC requirement to graduate, a student needs to have a 2.0 GPA, both in their major and overall. And all of this is based on what we call the PCSB and PC degree requirements. So we like to use the visual that you'll see on this screen, which is a pyramid or a triangle, however you want to look at it. And what we think is a strength of the PCSB is our PC core curriculum. We believe our business courses are sitting on a strong foundation of what are liberal arts courses. So think of this as the Western Civ, theology, philosophy, some of the natural science courses, social science courses. So we think that's a strength of our business school, in that our students are getting both technical skills, but as well as these kind of critical thinking and liberal arts skills that they get from the PC core. And then in our business school, all our students are taking courses in what we call the PCSB core, or business requirements. These are the financial accounting courses, marketing courses, finance, management. This is kind of the taste of business. These are the courses that are what we call the business core. No matter what business major your student's in, or you as a student, you've decided to be in, you're going to be taking core business classes. And then at the very top of our pyramid is the major requirements. These are the courses that are specific to major. So if I'm an accounting major, these are the 8 accounting courses. Same thing for management, marketing, and finance. This is what we call the PC core curriculum. So the PC core has a combination of both core foundation courses as well as core proficiencies. So the core foundation are the Western Civ courses, theology, philosophy, natural science, quantitative reasoning, social science, and fine arts. But you'll see that there's some overlap. So in the business school, our students are going to take Math 107 or higher. And Andy's going to talk a little bit about this later. Then we have our social science requirement. This is met by taking either micro or macroeconomics for our business majors. And then we look at core proficiencies. This is where the students are getting proficient in certain areas that we think are really important for business majors as well as students across campus. This is the intensive writing 1, 2, oral communication, diversity, and civic. And you can see all of our business majors are going to meet the proficiency in diversity through their organizational behavior leadership course, which we refer to as Management 301. Some of the other majors will also have some of the proficiencies met through their curriculum, but that's something they'll learn a lot about in their first year advising and when they meet with their advisors for upcoming registration. It's also information that can be found on their core curriculum sheets, as well as information they can find in the academic guidebook. And if they need more assistance on that, they could take a look at our undergrad newsletter that just sent some information about that, as well as through their first year advising program. So this is what we call the PCSB curriculum. So these are the core classes every business student's going to take. So very similar to what I talked about earlier, it's like a taste of business, or the basic business knowledge, if you will. You know, this is going to be your data application for business, which is kicking off with some Excel. And good news, our students are all going to be asked to take Excel certification through Microsoft. They can also attend workshops through career education and planning. So this is an opportunity for them as well. All of our students are going to take financial and management accounting. Very likely that your students in that financial accounting right now. Students are going to take managerial finance, and depending upon their major, they may take as early as next semester or next year if they're a first year student. Students are going to take operations management. This is typically a junior year course because as a prerequisite of Math 217, which is stats. You see that on the right side. Then, as I talked about earlier, all of our students are going to take organizational behavior. Then they're going to take what we kind of affectionately call business law. And then they're going to take principles of marketing. And then over on the right, you can see some of the required business courses that are fulfilled by taking courses in math and econ, but very important to the foundation of business. So that's a pretty quick high level of what the curriculum looks like. All of our students, as part of first year advising workshops, as well as the intro to business, we've gone into deeper detail. Certainly we go into detail by major. If you're going to the sessions next, they're going to go into much more the major requirements and a lot more about, what do you do with those majors. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Andy so he can talk to you a little about what some of the first year experience requirements are, as well as opportunities.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Donahue. I'm the Assistant Director for Student Engagement and Academic Advising. And thanks for joining us here this evening. And so let's go to that first slide that talks about your students' first year experience here in the School of Business. And so one of the things as first year advisors that we focus on is making sure that your student is working through these different requirements and managing their course load as well as their co-curricular course load that I'll speak to in a moment. And so the first step is a math proficiency. So the baseline requirement for the School of Business is that your student takes Math 107 or higher. And so for some students who come in needing that introduction to math at the college level, Math 107 is a great place to start. For finance majors, this Math 108 is actually a requirement. So it is semi-normal for students to take 107 their first semester and meet that 108 requirement as finance majors their second semester. And Math 108 is also a preferred course for students who are in the accounting or marketing majors as well. So a lot of our students just skip 107 altogether and go ahead and take 108. If your student's interested in pursuing the 4+1 MBA program, that program does require Math 108 as well. So it's really good that most of our students are knocking that requirement out of the way at the end by the end of their first year. Next up is the first shops, or Dean Nelsick's Introduction to Business course. And so at our weekly first year advising workshops, your student is with their peers from their major in the School of Business, and they're receiving information and education on the resources available to them as first year students. And so, for example, in my first year advising workshop tomorrow night, I'll be working with 80 first year finance students to help them understand what the spring course registration process looks like and what the advising process will look like as we get towards midterms and get started thinking about what courses they're going to be taking next semester. In Dean Nelsick's Introduction to Business class, which is actually a formal course, students are receiving academic credit while also being engaged with panels and assignments and programs that help with their career readiness and their adaptation to life as a Providence College student. And so one of the biggest components of being a first year in the School of Business is the Friar Leadership Immersion Program, or as we like to call it, FLIP. And so FLIP is your students' co-curricular experience during their time as a student in the School of Business. And the real focus of FLIP is to provide your students with experiential education opportunities outside the classroom that allow them to start thinking about their career pathways and develop career readiness skills that are going to help them land internships and focus on life after graduation. And students engage in FLIP through a variety of options, whether it's campus-sponsored programs, workshops, training, speakers, or even working on student organizations, management boards, or programs. And so it's a great way for students to learn more about the fields they're interested in going into, or dismiss fields that they realize they're not interested in going into. And it's a great way for students to really develop an idea of what they want to do with their degrees after Providence College. And so it's a real awesome opportunity that students have to really start planning out as early as their freshman year the steps they need to take in order to be successful in life after graduation. And lastly, for our requirements, as Dean Nelsick said, a 2.5 GPA requirement is required to stay in the School of Business. And so as an academic advisor for first years, we work with our students to make sure that they are making progress towards those goals, making sure that they do receive the support they need, whether it's additional help or support from academic support services, and really making sure they're on the right path to success as first year students. We know it's an essential year, it's a critical year of their success, and we really, really try to give them all the support they need to be successful. And so as I was speaking to the first year advising workshops, these sessions are led by their first year advisor. So it's a great opportunity for students to get to know who's going to be advising them during their first year. As I'm one for the finance department, I'm not a faculty member. So at the end of this year, I'll be transitioning my advisees off to members of the finance faculty who are going to have greater expertise in these courses as well as careers for your student. And so it's hot in team. So I'm fortunate to be partnered with Professor Kevin McMahon, who's a practitioner faculty in the finance department who has decades of experience in the field. And so he's been instrumental in helping direct the curriculum of the workshops and making sure we get the right speakers and the right students and panelists to come in whenever we do career education. So it's a great opportunity for your students. Unfortunately with COVID, we haven't had the in-person interactions that we'd love to, but students are still, I believe, getting a lot out of their workshops, even with attending them virtually. And so next up, if students don't want to pursue the first year advising workshops and are really interested in Dean Nelsick's Introduction to Business class, this is a great opportunity to connect with Dean Nelsick as well as learn more about the different business topics and really get into the nitty-gritty of what business is and what their careers look like that they'll be pursuing. And so those students also are lucky to be advised by Dean Nelsick during their time at PC. And so it's a great option and alternative for our first years. And so as part of FLIP, your students have to complete 250 points by the end of the year. So for example, just by attending their weekly first year advising workshops, they get 10 points for every workshop. So we're about midway through the semester. A lot of our students are right on track to complete this requirement. And so they'll work towards this requirement through their FIWs or intro to business courses, but also attending the different programming that we have around campus. For example, a couple of weeks ago, the Humanities Forum sponsored a talk on the late Congressman John Lewis. That was an opportunity points. Last week, Beta Gamma Sigma and the co-hosted a finance panel with professionals from Citibank and State Street. That was an opportunity to receive flip points. So there's a great number of opportunities for your students throughout the year to get engaged with different programming around campus and work towards their requirement. One of the big pieces of flip is, career readiness and career skill development. And we're really fortunate to have a great team in the Center for Career Education, Professional Development, who are our partners in the FLIP program. FLIP is a part of the greater Friar Involvement Tracker that our students are working towards badges and milestones that they're going to be able to put on their LinkedIn profiles or their resumes. And so with those badges and milestones, we share that with employers who really recruit Providence College really hard. And so it's a great way to for students to showcase that, they were involved as students at PC, they've learned throughout their experience at PC, and for employers, it's a great way to see, well, they're getting a great education at PC, but these students are also getting great development opportunities through, the School of Business and the Center for Career Education. And so as we work towards expanding the FLIP program, this is only our second year, we're going to be working with sophomores and juniors moving forward to give them a 2-year experience that's going to really increase their knowledge and expertise in career readiness and professional skill development to make them the most viable candidates for those careers in graduate schools post-graduation. And so we've been working this summer on it. It's going to be unveiled to students over the next few weeks. And something we're really excited about to make FLIP a foundational experience for students in the School of Business.
Andy, do you want to talk a little about the Road After Ryan program from this summer?
Sure. So one of the things that I worked on this summer was to promote the success stories that we've had from our students at PC. And so in this virtual COVID environment we've had, connecting with our alumni from all over the country was it's a great way to do it because they don't have to travel to Providence, they don't have to take the train from New York or come down from Boston. But we were able to connect with some young alumni who are doing some great work for companies like PwC, Citizens Bank, who else did I get land? Travelers Insurance, where we did interviews for students to connect with these alumni and learn more about their stories at PC. And so, they got to talk about the great skill development, the networking opportunities, the friends they made along the way. And, as an alum myself, one of the strongest points at PC is the community, both as a student and as an alum. And so it was really great to have these opportunities to hear about the success that our alumni are having and their willingness to give back to your students and share advice with your students. And so that was one of the highlights we had this summer. Something where definitely, Zoom's been a great tool. We've all learned how to use Zoom. It's a great opportunity for alumni to come back and give back to our community here at PC.
Yeah, the other nice part of the Road After Ryan series is that the alumni were really gracious in allowing us to tape them. And so this content's also available through Flip on an app that all of your students should have downloaded at this point. So it's really nice. All the content that Andy's talking about is content that they can continue to view even if they miss many of these live scenarios or live sessions.
So one of the great opportunities in the School of Business is that we have a dozen student organizations that your students can be a part of. And so they range from the Finance Society to Accounting Association to an Entrepreneurship Society and a Women in Business Club, International Business Club. And these organizations aren't just social, but they're really opportunities for your students to engage in the areas that they're interested in. And so these organizations put on events and programs throughout the year. Like I was just speaking, Beta Gamma Sigma, our honor society, and the Finance Society put on a big finance panel that we had 160 students attend last week. And so every week our student organizations are usually sponsoring some sort of workshop or panel or employer visit from the big four accounting firms like EY, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, to small firms like On Track Early, who are coming next week for our to meet with our accounting students. Our American Marketing Association brings in different professionals and different alumni who talk about their experiences and give advice to students along the way. And so we have a really great community of students in the School of Business, and ones that we really rely on to create opportunities for your student to learn outside the classroom. And so the leaders of those student organizations also are on our student advisory board. And so, as Dean Maxfield was talking about at the beginning, we really care about feedback from our students and creating the best experiences possible for our community. And so each of the student organization leaders, we hold bi-weekly meetings where they're able to come together and collaborate on events, share feedback with administrators like myself, and really keep working towards making PCSB the best it can be for our students. So every year we host an involvement fair for your students to get involved. This year is a little different than in the past with COVID, had to be virtual. And so we're going to be continuing to promote our student organization. So if your student was, slow to get involved, we're going to be working with our organizations to really get the word out so that your student can find their place here at PC. And we work in really close partnership with the Office of Student Activities to make sure there's plenty of programming and opportunities for our kids on campus. And so, specifically to the School of Business, we have a student mentor program that partners young underclass students with our upperclassmen to really help them show them the ropes of the School of Business. What professors to take, whether they need help with specific classes, what are some internship opportunities that our upperclassmen have sought out that would be good for PC students. And so they get to partner for the whole year and really work together to make sure that your students are getting support from faculty, staff, and their peers in the PCSB community. And so the last piece is our Honor Society. So for our really great students and really involved students, we have a Beta Gamma Sigma, a chapter of our National Business Honor Society here at PC. And so Beta Gamma Sigma is a great goal for our younger students. I'm obviously having a mental blank on what the requirements are, but Dean Elsick is their advisor. And so she can fill you in on what those requirements are. But Beta Gamma Sigma is a great philanthropic group that we have here at PC that really connects our top tier students in PCSB. And those students are actually sponsoring a fundraiser at the beginning of this semester. So they're hosting a virtual apparel sale through a website, which should be linked in a moment. With proceeds from that going to the Rhode Island Food Bank. So sorry for blanking the requirements, but Dean Elsick, could you help me out here?
I will, certainly. Well, first, let me start with I'm incredibly proud of our Beta Gamma Sigma chapter at Providence College, not just because I advise them, but for I believe the 4th consecutive year, we have won highest honors, which is quote unquote the highest honors that you can get from Beta Gamma Sigma. And I'm really proud of our BGS chapter. They work very hard every year to offer a variety of activities, events, both educational as well as philanthropic. So they really try hard to give back to the community, but also to continue to educate not just their members, but also to educate other students on campus. So BGS is our highest honors. It's affiliated with our AACSB International Accreditation. It is our top 10% based on GPA of the junior class. So we will, at the end of first semester junior year, we will send out invitations to join Beta Gamma Sigma PC. It is a lifetime membership. So it's a great honor to be a member of BGS. It's something certainly to aspire to. It comes with some other perks being a lifetime member. In addition, it's certainly well recognized by recruiters and companies. So it's very meaningful to be part of BGS. And so I'm really proud of our chapter for winning highest honors again this past year. And so I'm going to move forward and a little bit shameless plug, because I know that Andy just mentioned it, but certainly, we would really appreciate if you're at all interested in purchasing any of the apparel. This will be our 4th year of having an apparel fundraiser. Each year we've kind of changed it up a little bit with different types of apparel. This year we went back to some of the traditional like quarter zips, t-shirts, vests. We even have some like traveling mugs and things of that nature this year. Please take a look, certainly no pressure. But we also realize these can make some really nice gifts as delivery should come in right after Thanksgiving. So again, a little bit of a plug for my chapter, but every year for the last 4 years, we've been able to donate anywhere from about $500 to $1,500 to Rhode Island Food Bank based on the apparel fundraiser. So if you could help us out, that'd be great. But I will keep us moving along. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, and I apologize, we are going to be managing the Q&A. So if you have any questions for Andy and me or any other panelists, because we have a couple other panelists like Tess and Grace will be getting on in a minute, feel free to put them in the chat, the Q&A. Andy and I are going to be taking a look at that pretty soon. So any questions, put in the Q&A button or feature. So let me talk a little about real world projects, or what we call active learning. So active learning to me is the experiential piece, the really active, that taking theory and putting into practice, taking what as a student you learn in the classroom and putting into quote unquote real world scenarios, or creating more skills to help you in the real world. And so the first example I always like to talk about, because I'm especially proud of our real world projects. So we've been definitely ramping up this area. And the way I define a real world project is a company gives us a project, and they have a group of students, whether they're undergrads, grad students, or a combination, and the students actually work on a problem and provide solutions to the company. Usually they do this in groups. Usually they're competing against each other to come up with the best set of solutions. It could be data-driven. It may not be data-driven. It just varies a little bit on the course, but we're starting to offer more and more of these opportunities. So definitely have your student take a look for these. If they ever need more guidance, have them reach out to me. I certainly want more and more students to get involved with real world projects. Then similar to real world projects, I'm going to jump to the bottom, are business case competitions. These could be on our campus, hosted by Providence College School of Business, but they could also be case competitions where the students are going to other campuses or being hosted by other campuses virtually. So it's not uncommon for our students to compete in business case competitions. And these case competitions can range anywhere from being a case that they're analyzing to a case that a company gives them. And again, they're competing typically on teams. But these teams are with students from a variety of other schools, either US or internationally. So these are really a great opportunity to kind of get yourself out there. If you're a competitive spirit, this is a great opportunity to showcase what you've learned. A lot of our students in the American Marketing Association will be active in case competitions. Our accounting majors through Deloitte or PwC tend to do a fair number of case competitions. Our students in finance do a lot of CFA case competitions. So there's a bunch of different competitions out there for our students. And again, they can always reach out to any one of us, Andy or me, or their advisors, and we can help them if they're looking for that quote unquote competitive opportunity. We host on our campus the Michael Smith case competitions. This is ethics based. We usually host 2 competitions a year. One of the competitions is internal, so just PC students, both business and non-business majors. And then we also usually host a regional competition where we invite other schools to compete against our team. And so our regional is actually this semester, and our hope is to go back to our internal next semester in the spring. I think in both cases, they will be virtual this year. Then let me go to business cases. So all of your classes, so many of your classes are going to have business cases. And the business cases really allow you to really, again, apply what you're learning in those classes to what might be real life scenarios, except a little different than the other 2, and that you're not competing on a larger scale or it's not a live project. But again, so helpful to be able to apply the knowledge. I mean, that's so important. And if you've heard anything from Andy and me, it's that, not only do you want to engage in your classroom, but you want to start figuring out how to use this knowledge outside the classroom and how you're going to apply it to jobs and internships. And I'm going to get there in a second, but before I do that, let me talk a little about boot camps. So we offer 2 boot camps a year right now, both in analytics. One's like straight up like business analytics. What is it? How do I use it? Usually has a little bit of a project-based. It's typically offered in the summer. And then we have been offering in the winter a data visualization boot camp. So how do I use that data to make it visually appealing? How do I tell a story with data? That's a little bit more about the winter boot camp is. So again, really good opportunities. I think many of you on the call probably know analytics is so very important to business. So the more our students can get experience and exposure to analytics, the better off they're going to be. I mean, they'll obviously be exposed throughout their curriculum, but these kind of extra skills can really help differentiate them as they start looking for jobs and internships. And having said that, I am going to turn our attention to Tess Povar in our Career Education and Professional Development Center to talk a little bit about the opportunities in their office and their department. So Tess, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Tess Povar. I am the Assistant Director and the Career Coach over at the School of Business. I work in career education with an amazing group of career coaches as well. And so what I do is I focus on the 4 business majors, and I work with students from first year all the way to their senior year on everything from how to increase their professional brand through LinkedIn. I help students interview prep. I walk through internship processes with students. So the whole gamut, and I look forward to hopefully working one-on-one with your students. And so now I want to go through the ways in which our center typically works with first-year students, just to try to give you some insight. And so we always encourage students to book one-on-one appointments with us. And these right now can be done through Zoom, in which we can have an interactive conversation. We can set up individualized game plans with students. And major career exploration is a big topic of conversation around not only just first year, but sophomores as well, where we really try to look at the students' passions, interests, and skill sets, and how that could fold into potential industries. Another way in which we work with them is to give them the tools and the resources available for career research. And so that's also a major part of the process, in which we really talk to them about, well, what are the specific industries in the major that you're in or in the combination of majors? We also look at the personality assessment results from Clifton Strengths that they had to take over the summer. And we really look at those individualized, unique top 5, and again, how that can fold into potential career paths. We also work with students on resumes. It's never too early to start to conduct resumes and have them available in case a student were to go to a virtual event, meet an employer, they ask for their resume. We want to make sure students are well equipped with that. We do have an artificial intelligence platform called VMOC, where it provides individualized feedback right away, instantly, through the comfort of their own dorm rooms, through the benchmarks that we send career education. And so they're able to get targeted feedback on this resume, as well as the ability to talk through it with us in one-on-one career coach appointments. We also have the Friar for Career Core professional development workshops, which Andy had mentioned. And these are a great way where we bring in PC alums from all different areas and industries that really hone in and talk about professional development topics. So it can be everything from technology and analytics to office etiquette. We have an alum that works at LinkedIn in client success coming in this week to talk about LinkedIn 101 and how to network. And so all these opportunities are available for students to attend virtually. And then, as Dean Elsick mentioned, they can watch pre-recorded ones as well. It's never too early to talk about internships. So we work with students to make sure they are informed on how the internship process works, and really can just start to think about the different areas and ways in which they may want to intern in the future. Which brings me to alumni networking, which is really important. And we really stress this because we do have an amazing alumni network here at PC. And so we're constantly showing students, how to conduct informational interviews. It's never too early to start that process. And so we really talk a lot with first-year students on how to start to develop and have those professional conversations. Another platform that we utilize in career education is called Friar Link. And so this platform, essentially, the student creates a profile and it matches them based on their profile and what they're looking to get help on to specific PC alums. And so it's a great way for them to connect to a variety of alums that are in many different areas in the field that they desire. And they can have conversations with them about, how should my resume look? Or can you give me some advice on how to get an internship in this industry? And so it's a really great way that students can communicate to PC alums through this specific platform. So this is just a snapshot of, again, how we work with first year and sophomore students as well. And I look forward to working with your students in the future.
And I really appreciate your coming on tonight, Tess. Tess has been a great partner for us in the School of Business. Tess is going to be coming to my class tomorrow night. So she'll be coming in to my Intro to Business class, providing an overview on so many of these resources and answering questions. And, you can imagine, even though it's like week 6 or 7, I'm starting to get questions about internships from my first year students, which is fantastic, right? So Tess already knows, she's ready to answer the questions about how do I get an internship at the end of my first year and how do I cultivate the right experiences while I'm here at Providence College to get more internships in the future. And I know that Tess has been a great partner to the first year advising workshops as well, attending many of those and providing a similar overview, except a much deeper dive than she is doing tonight. So thanks, Tess. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And so what I'm going to do is now shift over to Center for Global Education. So I'm going to ask Dean Cleary if she could get on, and I see her right there. So if you could give us a little bit of a snapshot overview of some of the opportunities for study abroad and other global experiences, that would be great.
Thanks, Jackie. So my name is Grace Cleary. I'm the Assistant Dean of Global Education at Providence College, and I also work really closely with all PCSB students who study abroad. So as you might guess, this semester we've suspended study abroad for the current junior class, and unfortunately we'll be doing so in the spring as well. But that said, we're really optimistic about the way that things are going to look for the freshmen by the time junior year rolls around. So Providence College is very supportive of study abroad. We're actually ranked 6th in the country for study abroad participation, and the majority of PC students have an international experience prior to graduation. So some of the reasons that we find this high level of participation have to do with the way that finances work with study abroad. It's very affordable. We allow portability of scholarships and financial aid. And we also really work very hard to make sure that students stay on track for graduation and earn credit for the classes that they need for their major, minor, and cores. So there's one aspect of study abroad that's very unique for the PCSB in particular, which is that all business students who go abroad for a semester complete a part-time internship alongside taking courses abroad. So we think this is a really important differentiator that will look great for PCSB grads by enabling them to have international work experience on their resumes. And according to some recent data, in fact, having an internship represents the single most important credential that a student can have on his or her resume when they're recent grads from college. So we're really excited to be able to give students that opportunity to do internships abroad. They're English speaking, we source the placements for them, they don't need their own contacts. And this is just a really great way for them to learn about international business in a different setting, all while earning credits towards graduation, taking their international marketing, international finance courses while they're abroad as well. So semester-length study abroad contains the part-time internship, but there are also other opportunities for study abroad, including shorter faculty-led study abroad programs. So on these programs, students would travel for 1 to 2 weeks, typically, with Providence College faculty and other PC students. So these typically would happen during the breaks, like January break, spring break, Maymester, which is right after spring classes end. So recently we've had students go to China, Australia, and Italy, as well as several other countries. And these are really high impact programs that give students opportunities to do things that a typical tourist wouldn't have the opportunity to do. So they'll do company visits, they'll engage with industry professionals, and they're also earning credit towards their graduation requirements. So this year in particular, we're looking at ways to engage students globally without having them leave campus. And some of those, which we'll be rolling out over the course of this academic year, include virtual internships with global companies. So that's something that I'm going to be promoting in a couple more weeks at a virtual internship information session. So they can do these from home or from their dorm room and earn academic credit, and be able to interact with different professional colleagues from all over the globe. We're also going to be looking at different courses that students will have the opportunity to take coursework with students from other countries and also work on projects with students from other countries. So there's just a number of different ways to engage this year. In addition, we always encourage language study. So students who maybe have already taken some Spanish, for instance, in high school, we have a specific class on the books now called Spanish for Business Majors. And especially for a student who's thinking of going abroad to a Spanish-speaking country and doing that international internship, this would be a great opportunity for them to earn credit towards Spanish 105 and also enhance their marketability. So I do advise a lot of PCSB students who have either a second major or a minor in foreign language studies. And this actually works out really well for most of them because foreign language studies have so many cores and proficiencies built into the coursework that's required. So they could, for instance, earn fine arts core through one of their Spanish or French or Italian classes, or they would be able to earn oral communications, all while making progress towards that minor in foreign language studies. So if this sounds interesting to you or your student, the next step would be to attend a general study abroad information session. These are posted on our website, which is globaleducation.providence.edu. I'll post that in the chat if I can. And the next one's coming up October 20th at 3 o'clock. They're all hosted on Zoom this semester. We have them about every 2 weeks, and we announce them in the morning mail. So I would hope to see some students at the next one coming up. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll be available in the chat for questions if anyone has any.
Great. Thanks, Grace. Similar to Tess, I really appreciate your coming on tonight. Also, similar to Tess, I know Grace is going to be attending my Intro to Business class in about a week and a half. So you're following the next week, coming in to talk about study abroad opportunities. And I know you've also been a strong partner to our first year advising workshop. So I know you've been attending many of those as well and providing opportunities. And so in the business school, I mean, we start off first thing, making sure we're talking about study abroad. Again, I mean, it's a great opportunity for a lot of students. It may not be the right opportunity for every student, but it does require some careful planning. So we do like to talk about it from day one. It's funny, in a typical year, if I ask the question, how many students are studying abroad, it's like nearly like 100% hands will raise, right? This is a little bit different year, but you know, like Grace said, we're optimistic that by the time our first year students are going abroad their junior year, that we'll have a lot of opportunities. And I am really excited about some of the potential global virtual opportunities that Grace alluded to that we will be marketing pretty soon. They should roll out in communication in the next couple of weeks. So all of you got a little insider information about some of the opportunities that might be coming out fairly soon to at least try to create that global experience, that global business experience for our students. So having said that, at this point, we are at the Q&A portion of our session. The couple of resources we are on the list is our contact information, the undergrad programs office, so please feel free to reach out to us. I also wanted to have the one-stop site here. We have a new quote-unquote one-stop Providence location. It is a it is a website location that has lots of links to other places that are very popular among families and students. So please take a look at One Stop. And so I'm going to ask Andy if he can kind of help us a little bit with the Q&A to see if there's any questions out there from families that we need to address.
I'm back. So the one question that we have in the queue right now is, are there only a limited number of spots for the data visualization winter bootcamp?
You know, there are limited spots. At this point, we have not met our capacity. Like, we have not had a year where we had to turn away a student who was interested. I believe that if we had too many students, which would feel like a good problem to have, we would sort out and find a solution. Because we certainly want as many students to gain that skill that has interest. Any other questions out there? Is everybody diligently purchasing their BGS apparel? Okay. Anything else?
We got one question that just came in. And Tess, if you're still here, hopefully you can help us out in talking about the upcoming Career Expo.
Yeah, so it will be a virtual career expo this year. And what that means is students will now have to register, so they can register to make a one-on-one appointment with an employer or a group session with an employer. Not all employers are offering the one-on-one, so it ranges on what the employer is offering. The group sessions will be capped at 50 students, and it will feel a lot like an information session, but there will be, you know, a Q&A involved in that. And then the one-on-ones are meant for a student to meet with a potential recruiter and have that same type of one-on-one conversation that they would normally have at the expo. So we're really looking forward to it, and hopefully all the students will come.
Okay. Next up, so for those of you who are curious, all of our first year students have received a slideshow very similar to this through our orientation program, our major sessions during the fall orientation program. And so this is all hopefully secondhand knowledge for your students, but if it's not, they'll definitely be hearing more about it, especially the curricular pieces as we go through the advising program for our spring course registration. And so we do have another question, Jackie, about beta, gamma, sigma. If you could review those requirements once again.
Yes, so beta, gamma, sigma is top 10% of our junior class based on GPA. That pull of when we pull the GPA for the top 10% is the end of first semester junior year. So think of that as being based on 5 semesters of coursework for our typical students. And that is top 10% of all the juniors at that point in time. And then those students are usually invited sometime toward the end of January. They have about 2 weeks to accept that invitation. And then we usually in a typical year will have a BGS induction plus or minus late March, depending upon the year and where spring break and some of the holidays fall. Any other questions?
And then one more question that Tess can certainly help out with here is it realistic for freshmen to expect to win internships, and how should parents guide or encourage their freshmen?
Good question. So while it's not impossible, it's definitely more of a challenge for first year students to get internships, but I've seen it happen in the past. If your student is interested in that, I would encourage them to meet with a career coach as soon as possible so we can make sure we're going through their materials and making sure they understand the internship application process. A lot of companies are also offering a lot of programs called early ID programs and professional development opportunities that students can apply to right through Handshake. And they really help students to explore and get them to learn about the company corporation. They'll have employee videos, they'll have information sessions. And so again, it's just exposing the students earlier on to what that specific company does. And so that's becoming more and more popular as well. And so like I said, we're really trying to encourage first year students to look into those opportunities.
I'm just going to add a little bit as well, Tess. I 100% agree with everything that Tess said. One of the things I also try to encourage my students is also to just get jobs over the summer. Part-time jobs or going back year after year, asking for more responsibility if you're at the same employer year after year, term after term, break over break. I think these are things that really demonstrate to a recruiter, to a company, that they have some skills, some transferable skills. I mean, certainly, working in retail is not the same as going to an accounting firm, but if you have an employer that's hired you and kept you on for a period of time, they realize that you have responsibility, that you have some skills, that you're dependable, that you have some maturity. So I think all of these are good skills to have. So I really encourage my students to at least try to get some part-time jobs or summer jobs, because that really helps you to kind of be able to demonstrate to an employer that they should take a chance on you, that you're a really quote unquote hireable. And so again, it is, to Tessa's point, we certainly hear of students getting internships at the end of their first year, but it's not as common as say end of second year or end of junior year. But certainly it's hard to get that first internship if you haven't had a job or had any work experience. So gaining some work experience is so important. Any other questions out there? All right. So maybe kind of wrap it up. Andy?
I'm muted, sorry. I'm not going to share this question specifically, but we do have questions about the spring semester and what that looks like. And Jackie, if you want to share what you can about what the planning looks like right now.
So you can imagine there's a lot of planning going on right now for the spring schedule. The spring schedule itself should be posted soon. Last I was told the schedule may be available as soon as October 15th, and so it should be available on CyberFire to view on the 15th, if not certainly a few days after that. So all of us have been working very diligently There has not been an official decision on the academic calendar for spring. There have been several options considered. At this point, my hope is that information comes out fairly soon. I think with some of the variability that's been happening with COVID has kind of delayed some of the decisions on what the academic calendar for spring will look like. Right now, our plan is to treat spring pretty similarly to fall, and that faculty have provided preferred teaching modalities. And what we mean by modality is, I think of it in almost 3 terms, that students, that either faculty are teaching in person, or they're teaching online, or they're teaching what we call kind of high flex. And then the high flex is really designed for classes that might be unable to fit because of social distancing in a room for every student, or because a student has selected to be remote who's in that in-person class. So the high flex is kind of both options. And so some classes that are designed to be in person may have to have a high flex option to accommodate students or to accommodate social distancing. Online classes are online, as you can imagine. And so at this point, spring, we're moving forward with having multiple modalities and treating it much like fall. But again, what's I think still being decided is the academic calendar. And so my hope is all this information will come out soon, either from the continuity task force or Dean Sears or Provost Reed. And so take a look at your emails. They should be coming pretty soon. Any other questions? And I hope everyone's able to join us for the next sessions where we're going a little deeper dive into all the different majors. And so hopefully you're joining us at accounting, finance, management, marketing. We have some great faculty coming on for those sessions. So it's a really nice opportunity to meet a few of the faculty in those departments. Some are chairs, hosted by chairs, some are hosted by assistant chairs, certainly all hosted by faculty that care a lot about working with students. So I really hope everyone can join us, and I'm hoping in the Q&A, I think we've added those links so that if you don't have the original messaging that has those links, I think they're in the Q&A right now as well. So I am going to turn it over to my college events colleagues to see if it's time to wrap up. Okay. So I appreciate everyone getting on with us tonight. So we're going to be wrapping up right here. We can stay on and manage the Q&A for a little while longer, but hopefully, again, everyone's able to join us at the next sessions at 8 o'clock. Thank you and have a good night, and go Friars.